We have questions here, like obviously the question is like, will Trump jump in? How does it impact the economy? For instance, oil prices. You brought that up, right? Because that's what they were going.
Yeah.
He brought that up as well. He's like, I told them they should have taken the oil, stuff like that.
What do you think is going to happen to oil? Like, we're talking about war here in the Middle East. Like, they're going to restrict the supply. The price is going to go up. But there's also a specific issue here when it comes to oil. And that's...
Are you talking
about blocking... give me a sec. What's it called?
I don't know what you're referring to, so I can't help you there.
Yeah.
But
it's like blocking a passageway, a
corridor
to
for
transport it.
For the the pipeline. Is that what you mean? Or I'm not. I think it's a corridor is what you're talking about. A key economic corridor.
It's the Strait of Hormuz, basically.
Oh, is this okay? Right, that's like a key, trade corridor. So yeah, that's what you're. I think that's what you're talking about.
This over here. So we're talking about it's going to impact everything globally. So, for example, China is importing half of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and right. It's going to impact manufacturing and a lot of countries in more than they can ever imagine. As you know, China makes everything in the world.
There is the One Belt, One Road initiative that China has been trying to push, obviously, which we covered in our video on China, which actually kind of fits with this. So they're obviously going to be concerned in terms of what's going on. And I think they've been actually pushing for calmness on the situation and try to mediate because they don't want to see any further disruption.
Yeah.
But basically, what can we say more about this? So there have been discussions at the G7 in Washington to a real possibility of U.S. engagement. This is a U.S. engagement militarily alongside Israel. But this is still not fully clarified. Analysts are troubled of how quickly such actions have escalated. Investors fear right now the U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict, which could affect the stock markets. Obviously, it will. Oil prices will rise sharply if U.S. attacks Iran. This will impact, obviously, the global economy. And the dollar gains as investors seek safe haven. Now, there is likely, to some capacity, U.S. involvement in this if Israel ramps up. Special
Can I share a video now? Can I just?
I'm just going to finish on the fact that this will be definitely so because of special operations or assistance through air strikes or the sanctions. And I don't think the U.S. will be necessarily going into a full-scale ground war like they did with Iraq, but definitely there's going to be some sort of buffer in terms of everything that they will provide in terms of support. And I think in terms of the economy, this will elevate the energy costs for everybody, not only the U.S., but this is also going to be, I think it's going to add inflationary pressure and slower growth. And I think this is going to create some problems. But go ahead. This is the video that you wanted. What is this in relation to?
It's in relation to Fordow, the factory they're thinking of nuking or something. Not nuking, but it's sending a bomb to destroy it.
Oh, basically, okay.
But I don't know how true it is or anything.
Yeah, and this is where Trump is signaling direct support for this, and where he may authorize limited strikes to where you just suggested, for instance, Fordow. And
really appreciate you. Fordow is protected by 80 to 90 meters of rock, nearly 300 feet down, with at least 5 tunnel entrances carved into the mountainside, granting access to the complex. It's like a vault built for the apocalypse. When Western intelligence first exposed Iran's Fordow nuclear facility in 2009, global leaders immediately saw through Tehran's claims of a peaceful nuclear program. The facility's secretive, highly protected design simply didn't match that peaceful narrative. Instead, everything about Fordow indicated that it was specifically built for one critical purpose: secretly enriching uranium, possibly even assembling nuclear warheads. It is so deeply buried and heavily fortified that even Israel's most powerful bunker-busting weapon, the American-made GBU-28, struggles to destroy it. For context, the GBU-28 is designed to penetrate roughly 100 feet, about 30 meters, of solid rock or reinforced concrete under ideal conditions. But Fordow lies nearly 3 times deeper than that. And this is exactly why Fordow remains such a massive threat today. You see, during the opening strikes on June 13th, Israel did attempt to target Fordow, but the results were disappointingly ineffective.
Well, no shit. Because they say it's like 300, so why'd you go there in the first place? Like, I'm sorry, like, you go there, what do you expect? Like, to be honest, I don't know if their claims are legit or not. Like, who knows? It's
the problem right now is that
deep.
everybody's going by whatever they choose to do. This is, again, like what, I think, was it Ron Paul who mentioned this? On the basis of, like, you know, who are you believing? So we're supposed to believe Netanyahu's intelligence, but everybody else is saying this isn't the case. Like,
but we can't trust like the head of intelligence in the States as well, who says like there isn't a threat.
Well, it's not only
we believe Netanyahu, but we don't believe the head of intelligence in the States.
It's not only the director of DNI over there. It's also intelligence from Europe. It's also intelligence from Russia. It's also intelligence from other places. So nobody's taking into account this is the same thing that was like with Iraq. Yeah. Like nobody's listening to them, but we're just listening to one niche group of intelligence, and they're saying this is true. And then you know what? I'm gonna get like flashbacks again. Oh, the intelligence was off. Sorry. Too bad. So much death and destruction. All in the name of a clerical error. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, Trump's core base is war weary about this because they're not happy. Nothing is being done about it. We didn't really show the clips of like Trump's sort of hypocrisy. Maybe we could show a few just to remind people.
Like over the years or what he...
Where is it? Where do we have that? It's... where did we have that? Trump's based at a break? No, Iran. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to open them. Okay, you ready?
Yeah? Okay, yeah.
All right, I'm just going to... we can share a bit of them.
Just to remind people.
Soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Just to remind people what Trump said in the past.
Yeah.
And they think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers.
Well,
you can double those numbers, maybe.
Yeah. I just want to mention something. He did bring up that, like, okay, Russia would have never invaded Ukraine, right? If I was in power, aka Trump, right? Well, apparently there is some source that President Putin came out by saying, like, yes, that is true. I don't know. I'm just corroborating like what he said. But here we go. Something else.
Something else. Let's go for it.
My proudest legacy
That's
will
at the very beginning.
be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
Unifier.
I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home.
All right. Okay. So.
Yeah, that's another good point to bring up, is that there were these hostages, and Iran was doing a lot actually in favor of like trying to help.
Just say it very boldly.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Let's just run through these.
You could end this Ukrainian-Russia war in 24 hours.
Yeah.
How?
So I know Zelensky very well because he was very honorable with the fake phone call, impeachment hoax #1.
They said I made a phone call to him, and I was very threatening. I wasn't at all. I was actually very nice. I was congratulating him on a victory. But when they asked him, they said, were you threatened? He didn't even know what they were talking about. He was very honorable. He could have done grandstand. He said, yeah, I felt threatened. He didn't do that. And as you know, I get along very well with Putin. I would tell Putin, gotta settle. I would tell Zelensky, you gotta settle. I would tell one, you're gonna load up with money. I'd tell the other, you're not gonna get any money. I would get a settlement in 24 hours.
What is he on The Apprentice?
It should have never happened. You have thousands, hundreds of thousands.
He goes on this rant constantly, and well, that never happened, right? And then there was like the one more, right, where
Iran launched 181 ballistic missiles at Israel, and I've been talking about World War III for a long time, and I don't want to make predictions because the predictions always come true. We're not going to make, but they are very close to global catastrophe. We have a non-existent president and a non-existent vice president who should be in charge, but nobody knows what's going on. She was at a fundraiser in San Francisco. Now, war or threat of war is raging everywhere, and the two incompetent people running our country, or what, I don't actually think they're even running it, are leading us to the brink of World War III, a war like...
Well, I got news for you.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. What he's referring to is obviously, prior to him. Yeah. And which, prior to 2025, I think it was... Well, there have been different periods of times where there were Iranian ballistic missile launches. Now, in June of, I have a list here. So in June 2017, one of the strikes was in Syria. Target was the ISIS positions in eastern Syria. This was in retaliation for ISIS attacks in Tehran. In September 2018, strike in Iraqi Kurdistan, targeting the headquarters of Iranian Kurdish opposition groups. This was a warning to Kurdish separatists and a show of power to Iraq and the region. January 8th, 2020, attack on the US forces in Iraq. This was a retaliation for the US drone strikes that killed, obviously. This was when Trump was in power. Remember the General Qasem Soleimani when they took him out, and that was, I think he was in a car. So that was a drone strike. So that was retaliation for that. Okay. March 2022, strike in Erbil, Iraq. This was targeting alleged Mossad facility near the US consulate. It claimed it was retaliation for Israeli actions against Iranian interests in Syria. Okay, not cool either that they're doing that. And then there was January 2023, this was the last, right, previous. This is what he's referring to now in there. Of eastern Syria near Al Omar oil field, targeting militants linked to ISIS and anti-Iranian forces. And the context was a response to attacks on the, obviously, IRGC positions and allies in Syria. So that is basically the up-to-date ballistic strikes, unless I'm missing something, but I am not familiar of if there were the only missile launches were the ones obviously recently to Iran. To Israel. But again, previous to that, it was always just open threats to Israel.
Yeah.
Just double checking. I'm not.
Do you want to talk? Shall we just mention briefly, like, what other countries think of this?
Can you,
escalation? So, interestingly enough,
I need to. Yes, I forgot to mention. So this was the other thing. I need to mention. So sorry. There were two operations in 2024 that on April 13th, 2024, Iran did launch a combined drone and missile strike, 300 drones, cruise missiles and ballistic missiles aimed at Israel. This was Iran's first ever direct attack on Israeli territory. These were reaching targets in the Golan Heights, the Negev air bases, and near Arad as well. They were 99% intercepted by Israeli and allied defenses, and this was True Promise, because you know that the recent retaliation was True Promise 3. So there was True Promise and True Promise 2. I forgot to mention this. The other one was in October the 1st of 2024, where Iran launched approximately 180 to 200 ballistic missiles in 2 waves against Israeli military facilities, and civilian areas were included too. So this was Iran's second direct missile strike on Israel. So okay, they are not in the right either. I would just say this is so they did fire missiles directly and drones at Israel before these attacks. So I guess, but this would have been under over 2025 now, right? This would have been under, I think this was at the end of Biden's term, if I'm not correct. So yeah. But this is where we stand on how the situation is. So we have to look at these things correctly, right? So what they did equally not good. So we have to look at it that way. But again, I guess you could argue, well, they did it twice, and now Israel's striking, preemptively at these nuclear targets. However, again, in my position, it's like I don't think there's ever any justification. Trump wasn't in power at that time. I think, yeah, it sucks that did happen, and that's terrible because of the loss of life or anyone that was injured as well. But I don't think you can justify loss of life with more loss of life. That's just my view. So
that's true.
And but I mean, we have to actually we have to qualify this as being that, well, Iran did throw the first stone in this case. It wasn't in the case of like 2024. So they did try to attack them twice. However, they do have a much more primitive artillery compared to like Israel, as mentioned.
Oh, for sure.
And given the intelligence, they were not building any nuclear weapons. However, that's been disregarded in favor of whatever intelligence, I guess, Netanyahu is getting, where they are apparently. So yeah.
Let's talk a bit about like what other countries think of, or what their positions are like in this conflict.
Yeah.
So here we have an article from Reuters which says that President Putin and Xi Jinping, so basically Russia and China, condemn Israel over its Iran strikes.
In a phone call.
So, yeah, in a phone call. Now, so Vladimir Putin proposed like mediating peace talks between Iran and Israel to de-escalate tensions. However, hang on a sec.
I recall what Trump said. There was a thing where Trump was basically saying, like, he told Putin, like, I think you need to sort out that, stay out of this.
Yeah.
Basically, he was like,
here. I have that right here. So I think that was a bit like.
Which again, I mean, that would be fine if Trump was actually doing something.
Yeah, because he himself is not doing anything. It's like,
no, he's not. He's just inflaming it further.
He's
not. Yeah. Putin proposes peace talks, but Trump tells him to focus on Ukraine first. I mean, here's the thing. This is gonna. I think this is gonna turn out to be in the similar situation as we have right now in the conflict in Russia and Ukraine, because it's gonna get to a point where now you're getting like Iran saying, "Okay, we want to have talks," and now Israel's just saying no, and it's gonna be a stalemate, and then who knows what's gonna escalate out of that? I have no idea. But this is why I think it is necessary to bring in these other greater powers, nuclear powers, mind you, to somehow bring some sort of like understanding to the game.
Exactly. They need like it's like in Dungeons and Dragons, you need like a dungeon master to kind of like control the situation and put the narrative away, like on the right path.
But and Trump is supposed to be that dungeon master, but he's just not he's just not qualified.
He's a bad dungeon master.
Yeah, he is. At this point in time, he's not really. He's getting too confused with being a player.
So what's also interesting is that a lot of like mainstream media have said that on that, like as soon as Israel like sent the jets to like bomb Iran, that China sent helps and aid to Iran, possibly weapons or something. So China, mainstream media was saying that China sent planes to Iran to provide them with like military help. Now, what's interesting as well is that they also mentioned, hang on, where is it? That the States is providing aid to Israel at the same time.
So this becomes like a proxy war between China and the US.
Well, it is a part of efforts to strengthen operational continuity and support all the IDF's needs, both for achieving the goals of the war and for improving readiness and stockpiles. Since the start of Israel's operation against Iran, 14 cargo planes with equipment for the IDF have landed in Israel. And that's the news coming in that the Israeli Defense Ministry says several cargo planes carrying armaments and military equipment for the IDF landed in Israel.
Again, there's reasoning behind this, and the reasoning is obviously because Iran is included in China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is this massive trade shipping plan that they have, which is all across the Eurasian continent, and Iran is particularly one of a key partner to this because it is a strategic location and the role in its regional connectivity, because people forget that Iran is quite a large landmass actually in the Middle East, and so it plays a significant part in this. So obviously China is like looking out for their interests in like having this, because that, you know, they and I guess that's why.
I also want to talk about like India's stance right now. Like,
I think that's pretty important.
Because like India recently attacked Pakistan, if you remember.
Yes, under the same illusion of that there was a terrorist threat, and there were those attacks, obviously, at the border in Kashmir.
So like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad said, like, tread carefully.
Yeah.
So they're trying to keep like a balance between all of them, because interestingly enough, India has strong defense and technological ties with Israel, including collaborations in areas such as drone and missile technology. So, but they also have historical energy and trade links with Iran, notably through the Chabahar port project. So yeah, they're just being very careful with the countries.
I think it's significant because India actually could play a massive part in being included in certain talks, because already they do a lot of trade with Russia, for instance, and but they're also very strongly allied with the United States. So I think they're a very significant key player right now in this whole geopolitical chess game, because you know they have tensions with China, but obviously there's a significant diplomacy and trade interests with Russia. They're big partners with Russia, and at the same time, you know, they want to have diplomatic ties and significant support and connectivity with the United States. And as you just mentioned here, there's definitely some ties they have with Iran. I think that they would be a very good key player in all of this as a mediator. I don't know why that hasn't been brought to the table yet, but they could be of significant use in this regard.
And next, I also want to mention like Pakistan. Like, I saw it myself on the news. There was some fake news like going around the internet saying that if Iran, let's say, sends like an intercontinental like ballistic missile to the States, that Pakistan would basically nuke.
Pakistan is another
Israel or something, but. So it's important to discern the real news.
Yes. So they're another country which has nuclear capabilities, and this is, I think they're part of the whole chart of like the nuclear chart of countries.
Yes.
North Korea is there too, apparently. Now.
But they're just being very carefully. They're just being very careful at this moment, like.
But you see, this is not unlike the United States right now attacking North Korean nuclear sites. And that's very, very, that would be a big problem, because North Korea obviously borders with not only Russia, but also China. So it's like, this would cause, I don't know. I think the way that President Trump dealt with that in his first term was the best way. And there were real movement. There was a lot of movement in the direction of, perhaps better ties between South Korea and North Korea at the time, at the very beginning. But then I don't know, everything sort of just dissolved since then. So, and then there's Russia's position on the escalating Israel-Iran conflict. This, of course, has profound implications for the Russian-led peace initiatives in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Moscow's strategic interests are closely tied, obviously, to Iran. Actually, Russia has had not only cultural but historical connections with Iran. So these ongoing hostilities are obviously going to present challenges and potentially opportunities for Russia's diplomatic efforts. But it is kind of interesting, because in some ways it's like they're already also dealing with their own conflict right now. So maybe could be a case for now them deciding, like, what, enough is enough. Let's end all of this. There's been too much conflict, too much bloodshed. So hopefully maybe something comes out of it. I don't know. That's what we can hope for.
And speaking of Russia, like Trump recently said that Russia shouldn't have been kicked out of the G7.
U.S. President Donald Trump said at the G7 summit in Canada on Monday that removing Russia from the former Group of 8 over a decade ago was a mistake.
It used to be called G8.
He speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk, because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be.
Because nobody's talking to Russia. Like, they have to make an effort. Like, they're always like.
This is the problem. Yeah, it's like if you isolate a person, what's going to happen is that the person's just going to lash out more and more, and or they're just going to withdraw, and they're going to just do their own thing. And this is the trouble with why I said I don't believe in sanctions. I don't think that really amounts to anything. It's just like you keep dumping on sanctions. At the end of the day, sanctions only hurt the people. It doesn't really hurt the ruling government or anything. So, I always thought that this idea of ostracizing and alienating them and continuously and it goes without saying, it's not only with them, it's with everybody. It's not, even the way that they handled the whole Iran situation, I thought was terrible too. So it's not, right now, I don't think right now it hasn't really been working in my view. A lot of foreign policy. What do we have here? The impact of... Oh, right.
Yeah, over here, this article from Euractiv discusses, the conflict that we've been talking about, but how it's going to impact the EU. Right. And it talks about that the conflict has disrupted hang on a second.
The oil supply chains, for instance, and particularly through as you brought up earlier, the Strait of Hormuz, which is this kind of very key corridor for oil.
It's very strategic.
It's critical for global oil shipments. In fact, I can just see all the warmongers and profiteers, salivating, going, I want to get a hand.
We're gonna make money out of war. It's not just the weapons; it's the oil as well.
You want to grab that? They want to get a hold of that, right? So anyway, this as this article presents, the disruption has led to increased oil prices. Well, so if you're driving a car, good luck on those gas prices. This is going to contribute to obviously inflationary pressure that is already being experienced across Europe. That means higher energy costs, impacting industries and consumers, and potentially slowing economic growth in the region. Yay! So this is all to look forward to. Great. Rising oil prices. And it's not like already Europe hasn't already gone through that, with higher, because already with the situation in Ukraine, that's already caused issues. And then there was the Nord Stream pipeline that got surprisingly exploded somehow we don't mention that because don't want any.
I mean, in Europe, we've got like higher gas prices than the States, and I'm not even going to compare it to like the Middle East. Like,
No. This is going to also, in my opinion, there's one key point here is that the EU may prepare itself for increased humanitarian aid and support once again for foreign wars that they have no involvement in directly. However, if they do get involved, then yes, obviously they will. And so here we go again, and then we have the whole, history repeating itself. And in this case, it's not that much history because this is only like a couple of years back that we're going to see the same things all occur again, and everybody bringing up the same buzzwords and, oh God, refugees and crisis, and oh, here we go.